Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today I'm going to be showing you guys 5 more top free-to-play first-person shooter games for 2017 and 2018. In my top 10 free FPS list that I made a few weeks ago, a ton of people said that I missed out on some really awesome games, and that I should make a follow-up video, and I 100% agree. So today here's 5 more games that are definitely worth a download, or 15 if you decide to go and check out the original video after this one. A link will be in the description below. Fistful of Frags is a Wild West mod for the Source engine, and is by far one of the most unique free-to-play first-person shooters out there. In most shooters, shooting while running isn't the most accurate, but is still a super viable tactic, especially if you're using a submachine gun or a shotgun. Now, since Fistful of Frags is based on the Wild West, and back in those days weapons weren't the most accurate, shooting while moving is extremely inaccurate. The only way to pull off a somewhat decent shot is to stop moving completely. Now, this completely changes up the way you would normally go and play a first-person shooter, and thus gives the game an extremely hilarious slant. The game doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that means it's absolutely perfect to go and play with friends if you want a quick laugh. In terms of the gameplay depth, there is an equipment menu where you can choose from a variety of weapons, perks, and then specializations. You can run traditional revolvers, a shotgun, or even a machete, and you can swap weapons between lives if it isn't exactly working out for you. Going back to the fun-loving nature, the way bodies drop when you chuck a couple shots into them are hilarious. And then you have the quirky stuff like drinking health bottles also making your vision go blurry. The modes amplify this further. Having a massive free-for-all brawl is an absolute ton of fun, and there is some more unique modes as well. Since the game runs off the Source engine, it has the aesthetic that is extremely familiar from games like Team Fortress 2. It's bright, it's vibrant, with a cartoony and fun-loving feel. This game is quite old as well, which means that despite its good looks, it can be run on basically any computer. Despite being an old game, the Fistful of Frags community is still going strong, and this game is perfect if you want to go and pick up something that is a little bit different. In my previous top 10 list, I talked about a new card-based shooter called Keystone, developed by Digital Extremes, which is the developers of Warface. Since that video went live, a ton of info was released about the game, and the game is now in closed beta. Now, the first big change is extremely obvious. Keystone has been renamed to the Amazing Eternals. Now, naturally, this was going to avoid any ambiguity between this game and Hearthstone, and while the Amazing Eternals doesn't sound like the best name in my opinion, in the end of it, I care more about the game more than the name. The Amazing Eternals is a hero shooter combined with a collectible card game. The game allows you to build decks, and then you can play those cards in the order you choose in battle. The cards are split into 3 categories: weapons, power-ups, and traps, and with the amount of cards available, every match is destined to be different. The theme of the game is extremely different to basically every video game that is out right now, with the Amazing Eternals having its roots in classic pulp fiction and 70s sci-fi. The game runs off the Evolution engine, which was built by Digital Extremes from the ground up, and it's what Warframe runs off. Because of this, the Amazing Eternals' unique look and feel is fleshed out to the max, and really takes the reins in showing that fantastic looking games can be free. The art style is a flashback to the past with massive retro influences, and is definitely a feast for the eyes. And naturally, being a Digital Extremes game, the Amazing Eternals runs with extremely optimized performance levels, a well-rounded package to say the least. The gameplay brings something new to the hero shooter genre. For the past year, this genre has been about different heroes and generally 2 standard abilities along with an ultimate. In this game, there is a big mix-up. You have your standard abilities, or left, shift, and Q, but then you also have your cards. Once a card is ready and you use it, another card will go and take its place after a short cooldown. That means an ever-changing array of special abilities are going to utilize, and those abilities can be specifically picked before a match by customizing your deck. It does add a large degree of uncertainty, as you don't know what you're going to be getting next, and you don't know what your opponents are going to be getting next, but in the end of it, it keeps you on your toes, and thus massive plays can be made. The Amazing Eternals only has 5 characters at the moment, with either Dread or Winter being your first. The other Eternals can be unlocked as you progress through the game, and no doubt more will be introduced down the line. The modes for the game are pretty straightforward. You have Team Deathmatch, but you also have Fragment Fire, where you battle for control of fragments across the battlefield. It plays out like a King of the Hill style mode, but with a bit of a twist that goes and spices up the action. Digital Extremes is on a roll at the moment. 3 games in active development, and no doubt the team is on top of the world in the free-to-play realm. I can't wait to see what the Amazing Eternals comes out to be, because at the moment it looks pretty sick indeed. Warface, my arch nemesis for quite a while. Last year I recommended the game, but at the start of this year I completely dropped it from my list. Why? Well, it was laggy, pay to win and hacker infested. The game was just a complete mess. However, halfway through this year, the game was bought out by My.com, and now they are the sole publishers. The game has gotten a decent amount better. Before I go into that, let's talk about what Warface actually is. Well, it's a highly polished, class-based first-person shooter. Players can choose among 4 different classes to play: Sniper, Rifleman, Engineer, or Medic. Each class has their own role in the game. Medics revive fallen teammates, engineers restore and repair armor, riflemen provide ammo, while snipers are the long-range experts. Each class comes with its distinctive weapons as well, often split into 2 categories. Riflemen can choose between a variety of assault rifles and light machine guns, while snipers face the same choice between bolt action and semi-automatic sniper rifles. Something that is really neat about Warface is the fact you can customize your weapon during a match, be it putting on a different scope, removing a suppressor, and so on. A bit of a null point for some, but it really does give the game a bit more depth, which is really nice. But let's not go and trick ourselves here. Warface is very much trying to be a Call of Duty clone, but with classes. The game is fast-paced, with a massive dose of run and gun, amplified by a somewhat annoying knee slide function that makes you slide for way too long. The time to kill is fast, but not insanely quick, so there's always room for outplaying your opponent. In terms of modes, there's the usual team deathmatch, free-for-all, and bomb defusal, but there's also a few different ones like Storm, Capture, and Destruction. Nothing out of the ordinary, but offers something a little bit different than what you would go and expect. Despite Warface being a fantastic game in terms of its gameplay, its monetization scheme is something that really leaves to be desired. My.com sponsored a few YouTubers to go and make first impressions reviews on this game a few months ago, and that's half the reason I checked out this game again, and all of them hit the mark on the gameplay, classes, maps, and modes, but all failed to mention the monetization model that really pulls down this game. I won't say it's completely pay to win, but the grind is intense. It takes a while to get to the good guns, and the default weapons don't hit the mark. It's kinda sad given that the game is really fun, that it has to be somewhat ruined by a pay to win model. I'm not saying that Warface is a bad game, you just have to be a little bit careful in your approach. Or you can go and play Black Squad instead, to be perfectly honest, with Black Squad being a little bit more rigid, it has a little bit, less fluidity in the movement, but overall this game is on up and coming route, and it's definitely another game I'll go and suggest if you want a military first person shooter. Brink is a game that I talked about a week or so ago, and I highly recommended people to go and play Dirty Bomb instead. The latest and up-to-date shooter by the same devs, Splash Damage. While I still stand by my statement that Dirty Bomb is a better game, Brink is not bad at all, it's just a very different experience. Brink first and foremost is, in my opinion, not a multiplayer first-person shooter that we are used to. Instead of the classic 5v5 or 8v8 player vs player matches, Brink is a campaign-driven game where you and your human teammates complete story missions online, but you can also go and play it solo with bots. This sort of approach is really unique, going combining multiplayer gameplay with a single player experience and merging it together, and it gives you the sense that you're playing through a game, you're playing through a story with someone else rather than just by yourself. That being said, the missions are not really that interesting. It's a lot of fighting through the rather squishy bots, planting C4 or hacking the terminal, and then escorting back an important person. It's a lot of moving through emotions, but very little in terms of opposition. With that said, I do like the premise of the story that links everything together. Brink is set atop a floating city called the Ark that has been isolated for over 20 years. A bastion for surviving humans, the Ark is split into 2 zones, one guided by the security forces, the other by rebels. Brink immediately goes and asks you to go and choose a side, but you can go and take your character through both sides of the story, and that choice is kind of pointless in the end of it. While this idea is cool, it's not really fleshed out, and caring about the characters is a bit of a chore. Getting into the movement, I think the easiest way to think about it is Dirty Bomb before Dirty Bomb. The movement is based around SMART, which stands for Smooth Movement Across Random Terrain. Using SMART, holding a single button lets you navigate up walls, over obstacles, and through the world. This means you can go for a bit of a cheeky knee slide or spraying your weapon, and this makes the kills feel a little bit more satisfying. While this won't work for a competitive first-person shooter, and thus why it's not completely integrated into Dirty Bomb, with Dirty Bomb only having the parkour, wall jumping element, it works perfectly fine here and makes the game more enjoyable as a whole. The character art style of the game is really fantastic though. It's a more extreme version of Dirty Bomb with the body proportions, especially the head, having a cartoonish feel that really adds to the casual nature of the game. The overall graphics of the game isn't bad as well, but due to its age, it's not something that's going to blow you out of the water. Like most free-to-play games though, you play it for the gameplay experience rather than the looks. However, that's kind of contrasting with what I said before with the Amazing Eternals, but the rule of thumb is still very true at the moment. In Brink, there is 4 different classes: Soldier, Engineer, Medic, and Operative, all which play a pivotal role in the game. The way these matches play out means that constant swapping is needed in order to go and progress, so that keeps the gameplay super fresh as you're always going and doing something a little bit different. Each weapon plays out how it should. The guns go bang and the enemies drop. However, there is a slight lack of satisfaction of getting a kill simply because the enemies, they are just a little bit squishy, and the weapons, they don't feel as meaty as I would like it. Overall, Brink is a game made for people that want a free campaign-driven first-person shooter. With the rest of the games on this list being multiplayer PvP games, Brink carves its own space into this genre and it does it well, even 6 years after its initial release. One point that is pretty self-explanatory is that player numbers don't really have a big effect on this game. A big fear of people getting into free-to-play is if the game will actually have a decent community and if the game will actually go and survive. But with Brink, even though if the 1,000 so people that are playing the game right now just completely drop off the face of the earth, you'll still be able to go and play the game extremely well. And in the end of it, that is a really appealing thing to a lot of different people. America's Army Proving Grounds is a game that I've known about for quite a while. It's been about 4 or 5 years, but I've never actually gone and downloaded the game or played it until now. With that said, I've got no idea how I've gone and missed out this gem of a game. Proving Grounds is truly a great military first-person shooter. Proving Grounds is not your normal brainless run-and-gun FPS. It takes more of a tactical approach, along the lines of Insurgency in a way. However, the game is not super hardcore in its approach. One shot doesn't equal one kill, and generally you need to put a few bullets into an enemy before they go down. Once an enemy goes down, they can be revived by a teammate, which adds another layer to the gameplay and encourages working as a team. This overall makes it way easier for new players to hop into battle and really learn the game without being dominated. It seems like the devs wanted to go and strike a balance between realism, accuracy, and just having a fun experience, and I think they have gone and done that very well. However, there's also a hardcore mode which takes the training wheels off and turns Proving Grounds into an old school shooter, which is definitely a lot of fun as well. To back this up, Proving Grounds has extremely solid weapon mechanics, along with highly realistic weapon models, accessories, and sound effects. The developers have gone a long way to truly replicate these iconic weapons in-game, and the intense attention to detail really shows. Proving Grounds was released all the way back in 2013, and as always, the Unreal Engine 3 comes in with a massive performance. The game looks great for a free-to-play title, considering it was released all the way back in 2013, and it runs buttery smooth, so it will be really easy for any half-decent computer to go and run. Customization is a big part of the game, especially in the cosmetic department. You can change the way your character looks and also the camo of your weapon. However, these have to be unlocked by getting a certain amount of kills, so to really, a bit of pride, a little bit of prestige if you go and get these camos. In terms of the modes, there is only 2. You have Battle Drill Exercise and Forward Line Operations, which are basically 6v6 and 12v12 matches respectively. The smaller 6v6 matches are played out in smaller maps, one of them being a construction site, while the larger 12v12 matches definitely brings the gameplay to a whole new level. Now with all of this said, this game was created to go and boost recruitment efforts for the US Army. That means that while your matches are loading, military recruitment videos will play, as in the end of it, it does want gamers to go and join the army. I personally don't care about this too much, as the army is not something I want to go and join, but us gamers, we reap the benefits from another front. Since the game is completely funded by the US Army, it is 100% free to play. Everything in this game is free to play. You can't even pay for anything. If you wanted to go and pay for something, if you wanted to go, support the devs, you can't. You just can't. If there was a game that truly defined free to play, Proving Grounds would be it. The only difference between you and your enemies are what your character looks like, what guns they're using, and your skill, which is the way a true free-to-play first-person shooter should be. It's easy to see that Proving Grounds has an additional layer of polish that most games don't have, be it with the high quality voice chat that trumps even Discord or Ventrilo or TeamSpeak, or the fact that the game is getting regular patches 4 years after its release, or the fact that it's got a PS4 release as well for free to play. Overall, this game is fantastic. But what amazes me even more is the fact this game has a very strong community that is built around this title. When I hopped into my first game, like when I play these games for the first time, I just hop into a match and just kind of learn. There were people talking on, the voice chat, telling me, undercover, you gotta go here, you've gotta go and, bandage me up, you've gotta go and plant the bomb. I was like, holy shit, people talking to me like a human being instead of just flaming me because I didn't really know what to do. I had to go and line the keybinds, and then I finally got into it and started having a lot of fun. Overall, Proving Grounds is a gem in the rough that is the Steam free-to-play store. It focuses less on kill streaks and perks and goes back to the classic team-based gameplay, which is a breath of fresh air these days. There is a good chance that this will be on next year's top 10 list, so make sure to go and sub if you don't want to go miss that video. If you guys want to go and check out this game, a link will be in the description below, a link will be in the comment section below, so definitely go and check it out. I really doubt you'll be disappointed. All in all, I definitely recommend checking out all these games to see which one you really enjoy. Are these games better or worse than my main top 10? Well, that's up to the individual, but each one of these games brings something special that I'm sure some people go and enjoy. If you guys enjoyed this video, however, make sure to go and chuck a subscription, make sure to go and chuck a like, rating, and a comment, and also make sure to go and check out all my other top 10s that are made if you want to go and find more free games that might tickle your fancy. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, out.